Okay, to remove the mirrors, you got to loosen the locking nut with a 17mm wrench. And then it makes it a little harder with these speakers in the way, but rotate them around until they're off. Okay, so to remove this handlebar cover, there's 2 screws underneath here, and when you look at that, that is at a backward angle like that. Okay, so when you take that one out, it's kind of hard to get out. There's one on each side there, and then there's one number 2 on each side in the front here. And then you just release the tabs and pop that off. Okay, I got the 4 bolts out of the cover. One on here, one underneath there on each side. And then I got my mirrors off, which opens up this. And I got my tabs released. And I'll show you where those are at here. Get these out of the way. Okay, so that is off. Now we'll show you where all the tabs are so you can reference those. There's 3 in the front, 1, 2, 3, and that's on each side. Okay, and then in the back, there's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 on each side and 2 at the bottom middle. And then that opens up everything that's here. Now we're going to find out how the speaker wire is wired in. Okay, I can tell you right now, somebody paid a lot of money to get this speaker system wired in here, because it's not just a simple add-on wiring job. This was a whole kit. You've got each speaker runs to a connector cable. That connector cable runs to this bulk wiring, and one harness runs down underneath. This one here, and runs down to this box that is just secured in here. I don't see that it goes anywhere other than just being tied to this post. It's not connected to anything else, so just trying to figure out what's going on with it. And then I'm going to release all these wires, but the hot wire is wired into this harness here and it goes back in underneath here. So I've got to figure that one out. And when I get all these wire ties off, I'll see if we can't figure out how to wire this into the system that I'm putting in. Okay, so I got this wiring figured out, and I believe I'm going to use it as it is. So here's your main wiring harness. Okay, it runs down to this controller box right here. So this controller box runs this black shielded cable up into the top, as you can see that. Okay, and then we'll come back around here and look at it. Okay, all right, that comes out the top down to here. Okay, here, this was connected to this cable right here, and that goes to your ignition and to ground on the bike. Okay, so that's your power. Okay, and what I did was I turned the bike on and put the positive and negative on a multimeter on there, and it was 0 volts with the bike off. And when I turned the ignition to the on position, it had 13 volts. So there's my switch and my power right there for my voltmeter and stuff like that. Like I said, that was plugged into here. Each of the speakers was plugged into these two, and then this last wire coming out of this harness runs to the plug that plugged into your iPod or whatever music device that you had to pump the audio out to the speakers. So that's the gist. What I'm going to do is I think I'm going to well, I got a decision to make. I'll probably just snip this cable right here and then keep this stuff intact. And I may just try to sell this speaker kit as it is. I don't have any instructions for it. I don't know what brand it is, but you'll basically have everything that you can plug in and then run it to power on your bike, and you'll be ready to go. So maybe I can get some money back out of this piece. It is a pretty good device, I can tell by how it's put together, but I just don't have any use for it. So we're gonna start cutting this apart and getting ready for the wiring on the voltmeter and stuff that I'm gonna put. Okay, so we got our plan for what we're gonna do. We're gonna put the voltmeter up here, and we're gonna put the plug port right here. Now, when you do that and you drill your holes for it, you gotta make sure that you're watching your clearances. That voltmeter is only about a 1/2 inch deep, so in here we got all kinds of room. Back in here though, we don't have a whole lot of room. We've got to watch out for these green plugs here because it's going to be going in that back wall back there. So make sure that you got everything pulled out of the way and you drill slow and easy, and make sure that you're not going to hit anything. Otherwise you could have a real bad day. Okay, so I've got my 2 locations. My port is going to be here, my voltmeter is going to be here. One thing to tell you about is that if you're going to do any sort of plug where you're going to have to be doing handwork and working with it, my suggestion would be to put it on the left side of the bike, because you got your throttle on this side. You can control that and take your hand off the other and plug in over here, so you're not having to cross over your riding position to be able to plug something in if you happen to be riding while working on these. This one here is going to be easy. I've marked it and it's got plenty of clearance underneath, so I'm just going to go ahead and drill it. Okay, we'll just clean that up, check it for fit. And then we got one here, and this one here is going to be a little bit more critical, so I'm going to take it easy and double check both sides as I go through on this one. And I will check fit. Beautiful and beautiful. Rock and roll, plenty of clearance there.